Scattered clashes and reports of a deadly bombing near the Damascus playground marked the first day of a 4-day ceasefire in the Syria conflict on Friday, but in most parts of the country the level of violence appeared to subside because of the truce, called in deference to the most important Muslim holiday of the year. With the threat of violence diminished, protesters emerged in the streets of cities and towns across the country. Syrian state television showed President Bashar al-Assad making a rare public appearance, attending the morning prayers for the start of the holiday. Heidi, thank you for trying verbose. This recording will go away once the product has been purchased. All Eid al, or the Feast of Sacrifice, in a central Damascus mosque. There was no sound, but Mr. Assad was seen to be chatting amicably with other worshippers. The most brazen violation appeared to be a car bomb that exploded near what state television said was a playground in southern Damascus. The report broadcast images of a fire truck hosing down wreckage that state television said was caused by the bomb. There was significant damage and a number of casualties, the official report said, without being more specific. Amateur video uploaded on YouTube showed extensive destruction. Thank you for trying verbose. This recording will go away once the product has been purchased. The Syrian Observatory for Human Rights, which tracks the violence from abroad, said the blast killed 8 people and injured more than 30, including children. The reports said the explosion occurred in Zuhur, a poor, mostly Sunni neighborhood. Previous car bombs, often claimed by extremist organizations, usually targeted security branches. The Syrian army announced late Thursday that it would cease military operations from Friday to Monday in observance of the holiday. The General Command of the Army said it reserved the right to respond to attacks by the rebels, which it universally refers to as armed. Thank you for trying verbose. This recording will go away once the product has been purchased. Terrorist gangs, and it issued a statement Friday saying that it had. The statement, carried by the official news agency, SANA, said that attackers had targeted several military posts throughout the country. In accordance with its early vow to respond, the armed forces are firing back and confronting the armed terrorist groups, the statement said. The remainder of the truce was likely to be tested repeatedly, given the splintered nature of fighting across Syria, although the bulk of the opposition seemed to accept respecting it if the government did. The ceasefire was negotiated by Thank you for trying verbose. This recording will go away once the product has been purchased. Lakhdar Brahimi, the international envoy trying to inaugurate the peace process. Respect for the ceasefire was uneven, with some reports of fighting filtering in before and after the dawn prayers. Since there was no official deadline for the ceasefire to begin, and no monitors or outside enforcement, its start and stop times were somewhat ad hoc. Fighters in the northern city of Idlib, for example, said that it was quiet. But there were reports of clashes around a military base in northern Syria, and one neighborhood in the central city of Homs reported that Thank you for trying verbose. This recording will go away once the product has been purchased. It had been hit by 6 missiles. The government, apparently anticipating street demonstrations, stationed security forces near mosques that tried to break up some of the protests, according to the Syrian Observatory for Human Rights. It said 3 people were wounded by gunfire in a hamlet near Daraa, but activists in other places reported that the security forces had resorted to tear gas so that the Shabiha, the plainclothes militia of government supporters, had been harassing men headed to prayers or to visit graves. Protests long suppressed by wrenching violence emerged. Thank you for trying verbose. This recording will go away once the product has been purchased. In the streets once again, calling for Mr. Assad's ouster and, in some places, for his execution. The size of the protests themselves, larger and more widespread than they have been for many weeks, was the strongest indication that the truce had made the difference. Although the uprising started as a peaceful protest movement in March 2011, the escalating carnage that has claimed tens of thousands of lives eventually drove the demonstrators indoors. Videos broadcast on YouTube showed protesters chanting anti-government slogans in Hajar al-Aswad, for example, a southern Damascus suburb. The video could not be independently. Thank you for trying verbose. This recording will go away once the product has been purchased. Verified as having been made on Friday, but activists describe similar scenes from around Aleppo in the north to Deir ez-Zor in the east and Daraa in the south. Some of the chants at Hajar al-Aswad referred to recent reports of a split in the Alawite community, with a shootout apparently taking place on September 29 between relatives of the president and his detractors in Kurdish, Mr. Assad's hometown, in the Alawite-dominated mountains above Latakia. As the Syrian protest movement has increasingly degenerated into a fight between the Sunni majority and the Alawite minority, thank you for trying verbose. This recording will go away once the product has been purchased. There had been few cracks in the unity among the Alawites until that episode. Come on, Kurdish. Come on, Kurdish. Protesters in Hajar al-Aswad chanted. Should the ceasefire endure through the end of the holidays, it would be the first time since April that the two sides diminished the tempo of the violence. That previous ceasefire, arranged by Mr. Brahim's predecessor, Kofi Annan, was not respected by either side, but the casualty toll dipped for several days. In announcing the ceasefire plan on Wednesday, Mr. Brahim had said that he hoped "thank you for trying verbose." This recording will go away once the product has been purchased. It could serve as a building block to something longer and more sustainable.